Hello! This is a new kind of video for this channel, but something I've wanted to talk about for a while. So if you aren't interested in manga and collecting it, then turn back now. Alright, now that all the fuddy-duddies are gone, what I want to talk about today is how to check over manga for imperfections before you buy it, or after you get it shipped to you. Because the lack of quality control in the manga industry, at least here in the West, is pretty abysmal. But alright, let me just think up some arms real quick. That's better. Now let's get started. First, I'm gonna show you what I do to look over a book that I'm thinking of buying or whatever. So this is pretty much almost as perfect of a copy of a manga you're going to get. This has virtually nothing wrong with it. Obviously there's going to be little imperfections, but the first thing you do, obviously, check the cover, check the spine, check the back, and if everything looks good there, then you can move on to the more important part, which is you squeeze the pages together and look for anything weird. And you'll see later in the video what I'm talking about when I say weird. So after you check to see that all the pages are good, look at the corners, look for the most common, bits of damage, which are the little peels on the spine, which I talked about earlier, and it's that simple. Now, obviously, that's pretty much common sense, but the page thing is something that I didn't start doing until way later into collecting these things. So it's pretty important, and I'm going to show you why. We'll start with why you want to check the pages. So here is a copy of My Monster Secret Volume 4. Everything looks pretty good as far as the cover goes. You'll see there is a little bit of a imperfection there, and you're going to see why that's there. So right away you should see that there's something strange going on right here. Just by looking at the pages, something about that, doesn't look quite right. So open up to those pages and you'll start to notice it's probably not going to show up on the camera really well until we get to the more obvious things, but you'll start to notice there are tears along each of those pages and little crushes. Some of these I have already sort of repaired, but whenever you see strangeness when you squeeze the pages together and look at it like this, chances are it's gonna be ripped pages like this. So I got this used on Amazon, and they said that it was like new, which is, as you can see, bullshit. But I do have another copy of this. I've just been trying to fix this as best as I can, and then I'm gonna, sell it to a loving home. Now here is another example of torn pages, unfortunately. Looks good there. There's something maybe weird right there. But more importantly, you can sort of see, now this might be impossible for the camera to pick up, there is some weirdness along right here. and I will show you what that is. So we open this up, and we have a tear right there, unfortunately. So again, it's right there, right here, and then you can just, it's really hard to make out on the camera. I will take some pictures to put up, you know, around here, just to better demonstrate what it looks like. But you'll notice weirdness along the pages. And that is like the single most important damage new collectors should be aware of, or anyone like getting into this, is to check your pages like this. Because more often than not, now this isn't foolproof. Sometimes there will still be tears that are hidden, because sometimes it's hard to tell if like it's weirdness or if it's just like dark pages, but always very important to check that. Now, on to the damage that spurred me to make this video, is the spine tearing or the spine peeling. Now this is a pretty egregious example. Now this has been fixed. I can't remember, I'm pretty sure I'm the one who fixed this, but this would have been dangling off. It's, you can like, if you run your finger over this, it's raised up compared to the rest. And we've also got some up here. Now this is insanely common, and it seems like it's getting even more common, as well as this whole yen press is a mess, or whoever prints their books. They've got issues, like serious like quality control issues. As you can see, the cover doesn't even cover these pages. Kind of ridiculous. But, and then again, this spine, this is the most common thing you will see if you're collecting manga. So here is a much older Demon Slayer, and then I haven't fixed this yet, but there is, as you can see, some there, and if I can get it close, it is, sometimes you'll see this in the store and it won't actually be like peelable off, like it won't be dangling, almost as if it's already been fixed somehow. But I don't know, weird. Then we have this is a brand new printing of this book that just came out. This is brand fucking new. And I got it, it was sent to me, and it has the same issue, which I have since repaired as best as I could. Now, if I had seen this in the store, I wouldn't have bought it because it has this issue, but because it was sent to me, I decided to try and fix it. Now, it actually also had an issue down here where the cover was peeling off, which I also glued back on somehow. I don't know how I managed to do that. It's like, it's microscopic, the thing that was dangling off of this. Again, I'm going to put some pictures up to better demonstrate what I'm talking about, since the camera doesn't like to show things up front. So that is the spine peeling stuff, and that is the most common thing you're going to see when collecting manga. Now, it is completely up to you whether you care or not. Personally, it really bothers me. It drives me crazy. And again, what prompted me to make this video, and I will show you the book that triggered this right here. I went to my local Barnes & Noble to pick this up, as well as some other things. Every single issue of this had something wrong with it. Out of, I want to say they had like 20 copies of this. Every single one of them either had spine tearing, which this one doesn't have, or, well, our next issue is this weird, you can sort of see it in the video, there's this weird like jaggedness to the cover. And I can only assume that that is from whatever cuts these out, whatever machine it is, they're using like a dull ass blade to do this. And that results in that. Every single copy either had that wrong, there were like maybe 5 or so that had that, and this was the best one that they had. It's pretty negligible, which is why I decided to just go ahead and buy it. The others were much worse. Or they had really bad spine tearing. It's ridiculous. This just came out. Just for anyone who doesn't know, this is the newest release of Chainsaw Man. Every single new book had that wrong with it. And it's just, it's crazy to me. Again, I don't think this is like the warehouse's fault that, you know, either ships to a bookstore or, you know, the one you get if you order from Amazon, obviously it's coming from a warehouse. I really, like, obviously stuff can get damaged there, and I'm sure it does happen. But I honestly guaranteed that most of these common things you see are straight up either the publisher or the publisher's like printing company. Sometimes publishers print their own stuff. I don't really know how that works. But yeah. So another example of that sort of jaggedness is this. So this is pretty... I got this when it was new, but obviously it's over like a year old now. These come out way too slow. So unfortunately, this would have been impossible to notice in the store because these are plastic wrapped. So yes, even manga that is plastic wrapped, which is stuff that typically has adult themes in it, you know, Berserk is plastic wrapped, I think this is plastic wrapped, you know, anything with nips in it is plastic wrapped. So that also leads me to believe that this shit is happening at the printing press, this damage. For instance, I saw an ecchi manga today when I was in Barnes & Noble that I was looking at that was plastic wrapped, and it had wear. Like it had been on a shelf for ages under the plastic wrap. And the plastic wrap was fine. And once again, it was a yen press book. I'm not, you know, saying anything, but I'm saying something. But yes, this, yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Again, has a jagged edge to it, as well as you can see some of this is like the paper, but some of it is the thin plastic cover that covers all the, you know, manga, which can peel off on its own, which we'll address in a little bit. But yeah, this would have been really hard to notice in store, and I didn't notice until I was reading it, and I was just like, well, shit. So that's unfortunate. That is also something you need to look out for, is so always like feel along the cover if you just notice something weird. Now I also have another book that I failed to get out. Oh, so I'm going to go grab it real quick. So this same deal, I think. But this time, instead of the cover being jaggedy, it's the pages themselves. Now, this is going to be really hard to show, but see how, like, fluffy it is looking on the camera? That is not normal, and you can even see paper particles flying off. This is an outlier for me. I've never experienced this with any other book, so I don't really know if this is something you need to be on the lookout for often. But again, it's like the blade that they cut them with isn't sharp enough. And yeah, this happens. Now I'm really hoping that the longer this sits on my shelf, it doesn't like further degrade and like, I don't know, you know, get worse. Just another weird thing to look out for. Next, right here, Yen Press. If you find a Yen Press book that doesn't have anything wrong with it, that's like the motherfucking holy grail. Because it's ridiculous. This is the brand new copy of Takagi-san 14. Just came out a week or two ago. Already looks like it's been sitting on a shelf for 2 years. It has got wear up the spine. It's got a little bit of wear down here. Now that's all that is wrong with this. Some weird cutting, though this not the same as that last book. It looks strange. Nothing, you know, nothing to worry about. But where a lot of their books have this, some worse than others. Another big publisher that I see that kind of damage with constantly is Koda. How you say it? Kodansha? I don't know. But look at this. Look at how this is like sharp. This book has been bound so tightly that the spine here is like sharp, and as you can see, it is sort of worn and not great looking. And more evidence that this is not right is the cover is coming onto the spine up here. So it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of this volume of this has this exact same issue, honestly. It's like they don't calibrate their damn machines. This series in particular has a lot of... I don't think I have a single copy of Grand Blue that doesn't have something weird wrong with it. Just kind of ridiculous. Though this isn't very popular, so I almost am never able to find it in a bookstore. I have to order it, which, you know... You're rolling the dice every time you order something online. Sometimes they're easy to return, sometimes not. So here's this is the only one of this I have. Damaged like this. Now you can only see it in the right light. It's actually easier to see in person. But there's like a crease. This seems like accidental damage to me that wouldn't have been, you know, in the print. This seems like it got crushed or something somewhere along the line. Unfortunate. I think I ordered this from Amazon back when I was still getting manga from Amazon, and then I stopped because I was sick and tired of being sent garbage all the time. So I switched to Barnes & Noble mostly, and like actually going in. I should have sent it back, because this does bother me. I could probably just get a new copy, but you know. Just another weird thing. Again, a lot of these are incredibly obvious, and you don't need me to tell you that you shouldn't, you know, purchase something that has some of these things wrong with it. So here is a bad one that I didn't notice in the store, unfortunately, but again, I might need to throw up a picture of this. You might be able to see that this little corner is a little darker. That is because the plastic covering on the cover was peeling off up here. Now that's bad because the cover without this plastic on is crazy fragile. Like just a tiny little scratch will take the art right off. So if you ever this, you want to avoid it. And if you ever notice it happening to one of your books, you definitely want to repair it and don't rip it off. Don't be like, yeah, it's dangling, I'm just going to cut it off. I did that when I was inexperienced and just started collecting. But again, picture right here of what I'm talking about, since you can't see it very well. Now, what I should have done before I glued this down is cleaned the little the underside of the plastic with like some alcohol or something, because it looks dirty. So this had been sitting there and it was probably collecting dust and dirt, and now there's just like a darker spot on the cover. Really unfortunate. If you're wondering, this is what I use to do repairs. I will talk about this more towards the end. But there's that, and then there's this one. It seems to happen a lot on these oversized volumes, from what I've noticed. Again, this is almost impossible to see on the video, but I will take a picture, and right around here, there was just a flap of the plastic covering up, and now it wasn't in one piece, unfortunately. It looks pretty ugly there. When it catches the light, you can sort of see it. I did glue back down what was left of it, but you know, you can already sort of see the yellow being worn away from not having the plastic covering. So another thing you really want to look out for is that missing. Now here is just an example of something not to do. I repaired this myself and I did a really bad job, and you can tell, you can probably see how there is a page sticking out. So this page fell out of the book. It just fell right out. Now, it must have been like that when I bought it, but it took me a while to get to reading this, and I glued it back in. It's, you know, not great, but the important thing to talk about here is when you've got a big, especially these Dragon Ball, any of these 3-in-1s, these pages are really, really thin and not very nice. I would recommend, before buying one of these, turn it upside down and just fan through it like that to see if any pages fall out. Because if I had done that, I would have noticed that that page would have just fallen right out. Because the first time I read this, it just whoop right on out. So another thing to look out for, and you know, that's really bad. Really bad. So these are pretty minor complaints. But these deluxe ones from Dark Horse, now these come in a nice heavy plastic wrap. That does not mean they are free from problems though. Again, this is super minor and most people probably won't care. I will throw up a picture, but there's this little, like, almost, it kind of looks like, it's just like a little crush, I think. But, it bothers me because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to the things I collect. But yeah, it was sent to me like that. And then, I mean, stuff like this is pretty unavoidable with the hardcover. But you also, with hardcovers, you want to make sure the top and bottom of the spine aren't all like crushed. That can happen with like Vinland Saga and the new editions of Full Metal Alchemist I have seen. And then another, now this is brand new. This just came out recently. Another one of these. This one just has this weird, like, these weird white marks, which is unfortunate. It's like almost like a tear in this, whatever this fake sort of leather is. Again, something that probably only bothers me and the most perfectionist of perfectionists. So, not something that you're going to have to overly concern you with if you're just casually collecting these things. Now, I said before that I think a lot of this damage is happening at the publisher or the printing house, whatever they're called, printing press. And it's almost as if there's just no quality control. At least that's the vibe I'm getting, especially after that Chainsaw Man fiasco that I talked about earlier. And here is another piece of evidence for that. Now, I don't know how box sets are made. I don't know if the books that they put in them are overstock from like the first printing, or or if they print all the books anew for when they release a box set. But this box set came completely sealed in a nice thick plastic covering, and again, despite that, a couple of these books, these two in particular, have spine tearing. Right here. And I believe this one has some on the bottom too. Yes. Unfortunate. Most people are probably like, who the fuck cares? But, again, I do, unfortunately. Don't be like me. Don't overcare, but it just bugs me that a brand new book can come out looking like it's 3 years old. Because I'm spending my money to purchase a new book. So why the hell are these things, so fucked up? It's almost as if they just don't look. They don't calibrate the machines that are dealing with this. And they just say, fuck it. It's all fucked up, but we're just gonna make people buy them anyway. Now you're probably asking, why the hell do you have so many of these manga that have these obvious things wrong with them if you care so much? Exhaustion, mostly. There are books that I've returned multiple times until I just gave up and accepted the best case scenario. I know one of the volumes of Call of the Night I had to send back twice, and I finally got one that had a little imperfection, but I was just like, fuck it. I'm gonna accept this. Whatever. So, before I end this portion, let's go back to this. So this is what I use to repair when I've given up on trying to find a copy that is, in decent condition. This is what I use to repair spine tearing and, like I said, that, the peeling of the plastic. I've also used this to repair some of those pages in that volume of My Monster Secret that are torn to some success. Not great. But to do this, you get a pH neutral, so there's nothing acidic. It's not going to fuck up your pages or paper or anything. You take a needle, like a sewing needle, get just a barely any on the tip, and then when you've got those, it's hard without an example. When you've got, say this one for instance, and this is peeling off, you be careful. You peel, you push it out of the way, get some glue either on the flappy bit itself or the spot, and you don't need a lot of glue. And then you just push along it to try and get it as, back in place as you can. It's not easy. Sometimes it it's never going to look perfect. You're pretty much always going to have one of these white lines like this, unfortunately. But here's what I do for torn pages, and I am going to do this eventually for this book. Unless I just end up getting a new one, if I can find the page. Hold on. Where is it? Where's the torn page? There it was. I missed it. So right here, there is a pretty bad tear. Now what I would do for this, take a piece of aluminum foil and place it underneath the tear. Apply the glue with, you know, whatever you can. I wouldn't use the needle for this. Just apply like a thin layer on top of that, and then fold the aluminum foil over, and then carefully, you know, try to make sure it doesn't move. Then open it up to the other side, do the same thing, apply a thin layer, and then do that, and then just leave the book to dry for a couple days. Aluminum foil is obviously so it doesn't stick to the other pages, and you should be golden, and it should hopefully work. Now, I'm not a professional. That's just what I have done for that. I haven't done tear repairing much, but that's what I do. So yeah, that's it for this section of the video. I'm going to retract my arms and do a little outro, I guess. One more thing that I forgot to mention before we get back to my penguin-y self. I couldn't find a good example of this in my collection, but pay close attention to the corners of the front and back covers. A lot of the times, even like small bends in them, you'll find that the cover is actually separating from the paper behind it. And that can be fixed with glue, but it's still going to be noticeable. There'll be like a crease in it, and that corner, it's going to be weak. And if you're reshelving it, it might get worse. So there you have it. All the different kinds of damage you can see when collecting manga. Barring more obvious ones like water damage or sexy termites. Also, while editing part of this video, I actually got this delivered, Miroku-chan Volume 1. And part of the spine is ripped off, some of the cover is peeling on the front and back, and it's got some funky pages, which is, you know, annoying. I wanted to return it, but unfortunately this volume just came back into print and it's already out of stock. So yes, this is a brand new, like newly printed friggin' volume of manga, and it's got all this damage on it. It's brand new. And why am I not surprised that it's a yen press book? Honestly, I'm pretty disappointed by how often brand new manga comes in damaged, and it really bothers me. Really bothers me. So if the things I outlined in this video don't bother you so much, I'm actually pretty envious. I wish I didn't care quite as much as I do, and I think it's important for me and people like me to remember that manga is for reading. As long as there isn't something severely wrong with a volume you get, you should be happy you have something new to read. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with being choosy with what you spend your money on, and returning things you aren't happy with is nothing you should feel embarrassed about. Now, before I end this video, there's one thing that I'm actually kind of curious about, and I want to know if these problems exist in the Japanese marketplace for manga. It's kind of hard to imagine, given their general reputation for like customer service and quality and stuff, but maybe it just comes with the territory and poorly made books are just a thing everyone has to deal with. So I'm curious if you or someone you know collects manga in Japan or from Japan. Ask them if these types of imperfections are common and let me know what they say. Maybe it will put my mind at ease and I can stop caring so much. Maybe. Probably not though. Bye!